the media is taking that Senate race in North Carolina, and predictably, they're running with the news that the Tea Party's dead, that it doesn't exist, that all these powerful people came out and endorsed this candidate, went down in flames. It's the end of Ted Cruz. It's the end of Mike Lee. You Tea Party people may just give up and either join the Republican establishment or shut up and go home. I mean, that's the tenor of the coverage, and it's actually quite different. There happened to be another election in North Carolina on Tuesday that is far more representative than the Senate race was. And that was North Carolina 3rd District, where the incumbent is a Republican, Walter Jones. And the Democrats and the establishment types in the Republican Party went in there. There was a combined $1 million spent on a single district race to get rid of the 20-year incumbent Walter Jones, and they failed. And that is the true indicator of the strength of the Tea Party and of, I would say, that the weakness of the establishment. And the Republican establishment wanted to get rid of Walter Jones because he went against the leadership on the debt limit vote and a couple of other really defining things. So the leadership, quite naturally, was out to get him. And the Democrats piled on, and they wanted his seat, and it went up in flames. Walter Jones held on. Let me read you an account. In a race that saw big outside money spent by independent groups, the Washington establishment suffered a defeat. Now, I'm not talking about the GOP primary for the U.S. Senate race to face Kay Hagan, which in the end was not really competitive. No, and this is by Francis DeLuca, by the way, who's written a piece here in Civitas. I'm talking about North Carolina 3, where the incumbent Representative Walter Jones defeated the challenger Taylor Griffin in a race that saw Griffin's D.C. and New York allies independently spend more than $1 million to defeat Walter Jones. And that doesn't count the money Griffin was able to raise for his campaign from the same well-connected crowd of insiders, enabling him to outraise Walter Jones in the final reporting period. $1 million goes a long way in eastern North Carolina media market. A lot of money for one district. And I'll guarantee you, Walter Jones was supported by Tea Party voters. And he won. Proportionally more money was spent in North Carolina 3 than was spent on the U.S. Senate primary when compared to candidate spending. The disparity is even greater when you factor in the cost of North Carolina 3 media market versus the cost of statewide media buys. It's not an indictment of independent expenditures in campaigns. It's not the point. Campaign spending of all types is good. It drives turnout. There's no, but this is not an anti-spending comment. But in North Carolina 3, the turnout was up over 60% from the primary in 2010, which meant that voters learned more about both candidates, and they preferred the incumbent to the Washington insider. The incumbent, again, had fallen out with the Republican leadership, Walter Jones. Well, why did this race attract such big money when everybody was focused on the Senate race? By the way, Kay Hagan didn't have a prayer, I don't think. But it's early. Too much of anything can happen. But as I say, this November is going to be huge. If just half of the lies of Obamacare had been known, this wouldn't be a wave election. We'd be talking about the Democrat Party funeral. It's one of the upsides there is in all of this. Anyway, why so much money in this race? Walter Jones, 20-year incumbent, got elected in 1994 after having served multiple terms in the state legislature. Walter Jones' record best be described as independent, solidly conservative on social issues. A social issues conservative won. They tell you that can't be done either. He has opposed increasing the debt limit. He has opposed the bailouts that Congress passed in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. So he's conservative on the financial side as well. This last, by the way, is why the leadership is unhappy with him. What appears to be his biggest flaw to his colleagues in D.C. was his falling out with House leadership. That resulted in his being removed from his seat on the Financial Services Committee. He was one of several GOP members removed from committee assignments immediately after the 2012 elections because he was considered to be, not traitorous, but he had strayed from the shackles of the leadership. The 2014 campaign against Walter Jones looks like an attempt to send a message to other potential. This is what's key about it. We're told that the Tea Party House Republicans don't have a prayer because of what happened in the Senate race. We're told the media's got the Tea Party buried, and these Tea Party House freshmen and other young Turks that are Tea Party, you bet you guys, your days are gone. The Tea Party's finished. And the point here is that this campaign against Walter Jones looked like an attempt to send a message to other potential Republican renegades that the leadership and the D.C. establishment could come after you and beat you. And they did, but they didn't. They came after Walter Jones with big money, and they failed. And I think that race is a little bit more indicative, A, of the strength of the Tea Party, B, public moods and attitudes, and a predictor of future elections in North Carolina than what happened in that Senate primary. The Senate primary. Because even the establishment's guy in North Carolina, so-called, Tillis, I think was his name, he didn't even get 50% with all the backing that the D.C. establishment and the consultant class, he didn't even get 50%. It was pretty split. The other interesting story in this election was the fascination of the media and lobbyists with the Walter Jones race, which is probably a direct result of Griffin's having operated in the bureaucratic media and communication circles in Washington. So don't allow yourself to be deflated by whatever the media coverage is out of North Carolina. It's not all bad. And in fact, there are a whole lot of positives to take from it, if you are inclined to want to take positives. Some people think that's missing reality and so forth. But I'm telling you, they came after Walter Jones big time because he just angered the leadership. And they threw a D.C. establishment inside the Beltway guy at him. And the Republican establishment was aligned with the Democrats trying to get rid of Walter Jones, and they both failed with $1 million in a single congressional race. And look at Walter Jones, known for bucking the leadership on the debt limit, known to be a prominent social conservative, violated every tenet. There's no way this guy should have won if America has become what they want you to believe it has. There was no way Walter Jones wins, and he did.